Yo, I'm Steez, G, R-A-N-D, and my man Big Sis, no doubt, you know what it is. And it goes a little something like this. One time for your behind, twice for your spine, three for your mind, four for the rhyme about to come in. To this ill drum and I'ma say a little something. How we go? I want a black queen, a black sun, black moon, a black gun, cause we live fast, die young.
To the nice power of 9 of that 99 either. Today, we're going to be going into mermaids, y'all. Are mermaids real? Do they exist? Did they ever? Some curious questions around that. Curious information around that, too. As usual, folks, if you are enjoying this information that you're receiving, wish to continue in the sharing, the dissemination, and the furthering of our consciousness, please subscribe, like and subscribe. We can use them both. Thank you. So guys, today, once again, like I said, thank you for joining us. We're getting into mermaids. Are they real? Do they exist? The interesting question that we're looking at here is brought up in many different cultures, the early civilization cultures that date back to the earliest beginnings before Jesus. It's interesting when you think about it, and we're going to look at it a little bit later, how the different mythologies even start to tie together. But on this topic of are mermaids real, I want to start with, you can see, I don't know if you can see in the picture behind me, we've got some pictures referring to, we have the picture of Oannes, who was, I believe it was Babylonian or Akkadian. I'll find that out. I'll probably have it posted across the screen here. And of course the picture right over here. But this was, half man, half fish deity. This deity also intersects with or connects with Enki, who I've spoken about at length in some of my previous videos. Enki was the Sumerian god of earth and water. Now, the interesting thing about the story of Enki or Oannes is that, as the story goes, according to revealed by Zechariah Sitchin and Dr. Malachi Z. York, when he first came to earth, he landed in water. He resided in water. His home was in water. As a matter of fact, another epithet for Enki is Ea. Ea means he whose house is in water. So he was clearly not only God of land, but God of sea too. This, of course, we'll see the tie-in with Poseidon, right? Half man, half fish, brother to Zeus, Lord of the air, or God of thunder, Thor, Zeus, in Leo. We're going to get into that a little bit further later on down the line. I digress. Please forgive me. So we have Enki, also known as Oannes or Ea, he whose house is in water. The picture, as we showed, was a half man, half fish. But this isn't only coming out of that Mesopotamian era, but also we have proof shown by the Dogon tribe. This video probably could have been called the Dogon, because we're going to get into that in very deep detail. But the Dogon were said to have worshipped, they said they worshipped Nomos. This has been carried on in tradition throughout their history throughout their beginning as a people. They've recorded this history since their beginning on cave walls, and on these cave walls they have drawings of half human being, half fish. It's kind of hard to say, use the term human being, because clearly we're not talking about something from Earth, but a extraterrestrial being that was half fish and half something else, and it was all of whatever they are, but according to our definitions, it was half fish and half something else. Well, they said Nomos, as the story goes, Nomos came down from the heavens. He made a hole in the ground, filled it with water, and he landed in the water. And the Dogon said that at night, Nomos, the Nomos, meaning plural, would come up and meet with their women and give them knowledge. Well, gee, that does sort of sound like the Old Testaments, doesn't it? The sons of God saw the daughters of men as fair-seeming and took them to be their wives. The children became the Nephilim, mighty men of renown. And the Nephilim, of course, were part of the reason why God so-called allowed the flood to happen, and destroyed man all but Noah. Interesting. So the Nomo came up from water at night. They mated with their women and gave them knowledge. Also, as said in the Old Testament, how the knowledge of metalworking and medicines and music and everything else was passed on to those descendants of Noah. Or was that Adam and Eve? Forgive me, I'm a little shaky on that, but if you do your research, you'll know that there's a part in the Bible where they talk about where they were teaching, where the angelic beings of God, and where they were teaching people to work with human beings, the first man, Lulu Amelu, to work with metals, to play music, instruments, and they were teaching us culture, essentially, and giving us knowledge of how to use our environment. So this was the same thing that was done with the Dogon and Nomos, although the Dogon decided to record it. And so in their cave wall in Mali, Africa, the dark continent, right? They had drawings. They had drawings of Nomos, shown here. Clearly you can see the fish out of water, element going on here. Looks like a fish breathing out of water from the drawing. There's some other versions of this, which I'm going to also feature. So you'll see those other versions. But clearly, in my interpretation, in my impression, it is meant to show a fish that clearly comfortable, a creature comfortable in water and on land. The knowledge that Nomos, the knowledge that the Dogon said that Nomos gave them is irrefutable. The Dogon in their caves not only had information referring to detailed cell structure, human cell structure. They had information pertaining to DNA. They had information pertaining to Sirius A and Sirius B. Sirius A is the dog star. It's well known. Sirius B also well known now. However, this information in these cave drawings date back to over 700 years. Sirius B wasn't discovered until the late 1800s, if I'm correct. Late 1800s. It was discovered with the aid of a telescope. It cannot be seen with the naked eye. Now, it's true that the Dogon have a history of stargazing, and as a result of their fondness for stargazing, they have developed a keen sense of eyesight that aids them in seeing stars that most normal people can't see. However, it's not quite that strong. They can't see Sirius B. How did they know of its existence? Well, scientists had this question too, and scientists asked the Dogon, how did you come about all this information? This doesn't stop here. They not only had information about cell structure, they had information about DNA, they had information about Sirius A and Sirius B. They had information about what each planet in our galaxy looked like when you approach from outer space. And as far as scientists can tell, this is accurate information. Somebody else is going to have to chime in here. Feel free to throw it in the comments below. But how do you come across that information? Mermaids told them. Mermaids told them. That's the gist of this. Yes. So they have the cave drawings. They have the cave drawings of DNA structure. They have the cave drawings of Sirius A and Sirius B, and how Sirius B's absolutely imperfect elliptical orbit around Sirius A, when you show the two moving through the galaxy the way they do, produces the effect of, or the resemblance of, what a DNA strand looks like. Coincidental? I don't believe in coincidence. I don't know about you. I don't think there's any such thing as coincidence. And I think that if the Dogon said that Nomos gave them this information seems to be utterly accurate, then how can we argue it? There's also, in the picture behind me here, we can see in this picture, and I'm going to blow it up for you. I'll probably superimpose it over this, but that is out of Egypt. The Egyptians were also acknowledging people living in the oceans. Let's see, we have the Egyptians acknowledging people living in the ocean. We have the Sumerians, we have the Greeks and Romans. Where else? Folks, throw it in the comments. Where else do you know about where there are legends of mermaids or mermen? Of course, you had it all throughout the history of the when Europeans were looking for the new land and everything else. They had many reports of seeing things in the water. And so this leads me to another reason that leads me to believe that there are beings living in the water. There have been multiple reports recently of UFO footage. One of these, and I'm going to try and capture that footage and include it.
Whoa, it's getting close.
On a pitch black night off the coast of California, newly leaked video allegedly shows one of the U.S. Navy's stealth ships tracking an unknown object in the sky. And after a few minutes,
Splashed. Mark bearing and range.
the 2019 footage obtained by filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who last month released another video of an upside-down pyramid UFO hovering above a Navy destroyer.
So we were talking about recent footage that was shown. It was all over the internet of this UFO that was hovering above the water, and then the UFO goes into the water, disappears beneath the water. So there's that. We can call that interesting if you want. I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I believe that was the Philadelphia experiment, when I mentioned William Cooper, Behold a Pale Horse. And Behold a Pale Horse, in just the introduction, William Cooper talks about his experience, his first experience with a UFO in the water. And basically he describes it as he was on a U.S. submarine, U.S. military submarine. I forgot where he says they were at, but he was on watch and with two other people. He noticed a UFO come from beneath the surface of the ocean, rise into the air. He describes the water falling off the sides of it, and he says it tumbled over top of itself and went up into the air above the clouds. When he saw it, he called for the camera and called the other two. He called the other two guys, the other two privates' attention to the area where he had seen the UFO. He began to take pictures. He said he watched as it happened multiple times after, the ship coming from the sky back down into the water, out of the water again, up into the sky. The fact that it originally started with the ship coming out of the water is the part that interests me and relates to this material here today, of course. And it is not the first time this has been recorded. Guys, I forgot to mention, and I couldn't leave this segment without talking about the importance that modern society has placed on these half people, half fish, or mermen. Let's just take, for instance, in the picture over here, the Pope as compared to the ancient deity Dagon. And so Dagon was represented by wearing the fish head. We see the similarity between this and the Egyptian nod to the natir, the animal heads, being prominent throughout their mythology. Well, here you see the fish head of Dagon. The Pope's kind of cool hat is made to look almost exactly like that. As I said before, I don't believe in coincidence. So ask yourself, why is that? Why do we see that shape, that reference being acknowledged in different photos or different representations of deities in a historical reference? And then why do we see the Pope mimicking that? Unless maybe he knows something that we don't. I think it's interesting enough to explore, though. What do you think? As I always say, this channel is dedicated to the dissemination of information for the purpose of gaining an understanding of who we are, what we are, where we come from, answering life's biggest questions. What are we here for? These are the things. This is my rocket fuel. If this is your rocket fuel, like I said, like and subscribe. Follow us for more information. Please, we just ask that you be respectful of all ideas and information presented. I don't think there's any bad information. I'm trying to convey that we respect all points of views. We respect all thoughts and thought processes. We're here to entertain it all, and we're here to work it out together. And so I appreciate everyone joining us. I appreciate all the feedback, and we're looking forward to taking the journey a little bit further together. I want to thank you, and once again, thanks for tuning in to Missing Link 999. That's 9 to the
Black
next power of 9.
a black gun. We live fast, die young. So I walk slow, never run. Unorthodox like the Kappa, Don like the actor. Amici, Dan like the Geechee, tan like Guantana, flyer than Jamila and Delana. Shout to Asada, cooling out in Havana. Understand how a revolution's performed. These are Cinnaburst rhymes, biters is forewarned. Grand Agent got his hands on the tongue of a pen. Read about it and vibe, he ain't been the same since. Lift the left wing unilaterally, and ain't near right wing cat battling me.